Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So about a month ago I did a video, which e-bike would I buy? So that was back in April. It's now about mid-May and spring is in the air in Wisconsin. There are a lot of different options for e-bikes, a lot of new e-bikes coming out. So I thought I'd do another video. Which e-bike would I buy in May 2023? So let's talk about it. Now last month, in April, I said I would probably go for an aerial rider Kepler. Let's see if the 750 watt mid-drive can get up this incline here. We're gonna go for it. Oh yeah, we can. We made it. So last month, I said if I was gonna buy a bike right now, I would probably get the aerial rider Kepler. And I still think with the $200 off sale that's been going for a long time, if you can get the aerial rider Kepler at like 1700 USD, it's still a pretty good option. It's been around for a while. It's a fast bike. You know, you can expect decent speed on the flat, and I think if you get it going down any kind of a hill, you know, it'll get going close to 40 with some pedaling, so there's that. So one of the bikes that came up in the comments a lot on my previous video from last month was the Ride1Up Revv1. So I'll put a picture on the screen of the Revv1. And so it's kind of a moped style e-bike. I think it ships as like class 2 or 3. You can unlock it in the settings to go faster than 28 miles an hour, you know, pretty typical. And I think the Revv1 is kind of an interesting option. So I looked at it a little bit on the website. I like how it looks. Ride1Up seems like a fairly established company. I kind of veer away from like brand new companies. We'll talk about that shortly when I discuss another bike. So the Revv1, it seems like an interesting option. It's got a 750 nominal motor. But my understanding is that it's got a pretty good controller. I think it's a sine wave controller as opposed to a square wave, so that's nice. And I think the Revv1 looks pretty cool. I think it's got a lot of potential for like upgrades and storage and battery. Hello. Personally, I'm not like a huge fan of the moped scrambler style looking e-bikes, but I would say that the Revv1 is probably like the best looking moped style e-bike that isn't a Super 73. A lot of them just kind of look generic and kind of like a rip-off, like a Super 73 rip-off. I think Super 73s are overpriced, but I think that they do look good, right? And they were kind of the first ones that came up with that whole look and feel, and now everyone's copying it. But the Ride1Up Revv1, I think it looks pretty good. Like I could probably see myself riding on that one. I don't know that I'd want to be seen on any of like those generic, like, you know, knockoff moped looking e-bikes, but the Rev1 looks pretty good. I was impressed by how fast it can go when you unlock it. It seems like a pretty good motor. And then the other thing about the Rev1 is it's got the rear suspension option, or full suspension is what they call it on the website. It's a little more expensive, but I think I would get the full suspension Rev1 for sure. I think that's probably going to become kind of like a standard. Like I think eventually full suspension is going to become standard on a lot of e-bikes, because it's just it adds that a lot of comfort, you know. So then, in addition to the Rev1, I noticed that Ride1Up has another bike now. I think it's called the Rift, and it's similar. It's kind of more of like a mountain bike than like the moped look, and I like the look of the Rift more. I'm more into like a mountain bike, like all-terrain kind of look with the 26-inch wheels, whereas the Rev1 has the smaller 20-inch wheels. We got some people in the tree up here. What's up? You just kind of hanging out?
Yeah.
Nice. Some people hanging out in the tree. And so the Rift, I think that's closer to the aerial rider Kepler. It's kind of like an all-terrain fat tire mountain bike. It's got the 26-inch fat tires on it. I think the Rift has a 750 watt motor. I mean, I'm assuming that it's going to be the same motor and controller that are in the Rev1. So that seems like another option I might look into. I think the Rift actually looks better than the Kepler, like the frame and the design of it. I think the Rift looks better. But I haven't watched a whole lot of reviews on that bike, so I can't say for sure. But yeah, so those two bikes from Ride1Up have caught my attention. I find them intriguing. So I'd probably give those a try if I was in the market for an e-bike right now. I do want to mention another e-bike that came up in the comments quite a bit. and that is the Wicked, or the Wired, you know, Wired, formerly known as Wicked e-bikes. I've been hearing a lot about the Wired Freedom e-bike in the comments. There's a lot of people that are saying, oh, I ordered a Wired Freedom. So I've been hearing a lot about that. And I have some thoughts about that one. On paper, the specs are really good, right? I mean, it's a 60 volt battery. I think it's 20 amp hours. So in terms of the battery, I mean, that's pretty awesome that it's 60 volts. It's kind of higher than typical voltage, and it's also 20 amp hours, so there's a lot of capacity there. Now the Wired Freedom, it's a 1,000 watt nominal hub motor, and I think it peaks at 2,000 watts. So it's a pretty powerful motor. It's not a Bafang motor. I think it's called, like, it's some other brand. It starts with an H, like Hang Tie or something. I'll put it on the screen. But so the Wicked Freedom, they're not using Bafang motors. It's Hang Tie or something like that. So it's a little bit different brand than you see on a lot of these e-bikes. And I've heard some good things about it, and I've heard some other things about it. I might go this way and see where this goes. Oh. And so on paper, the Wired Freedom e-bike, it does look appealing, right? I mean, the specs look good. The frame looks good. It kind of looks like an aerial rider Kepler, except with rear suspension and maybe you know, some better components and the 60 volt battery and stuff. So it's kind of like a Kepler, but, you know, should be better on the 60 volts. Hello. And so I've heard good things about it, I've heard bad things about it. One thing I'm not quite sure about is it just seems kind of like a new company, you know, like, and it seems like a very new company, new to the game. You know, first they were called Wicked, right? And I mean, Wicked as a business name to me just seems like, it seems like somebody already probably picked it. I don't know. But then they had to change to the name to Wired because they got some kind of like a cease and desist or something. So now they're Wired e-bikes. And it was kind of interesting how that all went down. Like, it seemed like Wicked e-bikes popped up onto the scene, and all of a sudden they've got this Freedom e-bike, and then like a week later it's all of a sudden it's called Wired, and, you know, formerly known as Wicked. I don't know, I mean, it seems like a new company. It seems like they're moving pretty quick. You know, they picked a name that some, you know, got them in a little bit of hot water, cease and desist, people trying to sue them. And it's like, well, you know, if you're gonna start a company, maybe do a little bit of like research, right, and figure out what, you know, it's like they just picked a name like off the top of their heads, and then they're like, oops, you know. So I don't know, if you're gonna start a company and, you know, spend all of this money starting an e-bike company, you would think that they would do a little bit of like market research and figure out that that might not be the best name, or somebody might not like that. So there's that. It seems like it's a new company, they're moving quick, you know, changing their name. So then one thing that I noticed, look at this apple tree, it's gonna bloom like the next day or two. So the other thing that I noticed about the Wicked or Wired e-bikes is that they're kind of in the same way that they just threw the company together, they just threw their website together. And so I'm a professional web developer. That's my, you know, job, right? I've been a web developer for over a decade. And so I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of websites. Like, I can take a look at the website, view the source in the browser, and I can tell you, you know, this thing is a duct taped together piece of shit website, or I can tell you, okay, you know, like they actually have engineers and, you know, like web developers and stuff like that. And so looking at the Wired or Wicked whatever website, it's just like thrown together. I mean, it's probably like a Wix or, you know, like some kind of Squarespace type deal that they threw together in an afternoon. And when you look at it on the phone, it looks okay, but when you look at it on a desktop browser, it just looks like it's straight out of like 1995, like GeoCities type website. And so one thing I noticed about the Wired e-bikes website is if you go look at their story, like the about us, like about the company, or, you know, the story behind the company, the companies usually have a story about how the company started out and the founders and like their kind of, you know, thought process and like why they started the company and their beliefs and all that. And I mean, you can kind of tell just by looking at the Wired e-bikes website and the about us page that it was kind of like a thrown together thing. And I don't even know. What I'll often do is I'll go to the about us page, and if the company seems new, I'm gonna look and see if like the people that they show on the website are actual real people, right? So I went to the Wired e-bike site, and I'm looking at the about us page on the founder, the CEO guy, and then there's like there's some other guy, he's like a COO, chief operations officer or something, I don't know. But I mean, I was searching for the CEO's name on Google. I forget what it is. You have to go look at the website. But I was searching for the CEO's name on Google. And I mean, it's just, I don't even know if it's a real person. You know, there's no LinkedIn. It's not some person that you can find, right? It's like, you can't just search for, oh, like Steven, the CEO of Wired e-bikes, and find him on LinkedIn. Or find, you know, like, it doesn't have a picture of him on the Wired e-bikes website. And it's kind of the same thing for the COO, right? So I searched him on the internet. I couldn't find a whole lot. I found some guy that looks like a realtor, and I was looking at the address for the Wired e-bikes business. It looks like it's in Illinois, and I was able to find somebody with the same name as the COO. It looks like he's some kind of a realtor guy in the same area in Illinois. Might even be like the same building, but I don't know. I mean, it just, when I'm looking at the Wired e-bikes website at the about us, it just seems like it seems like thrown together. I don't know if they just threw it together real quick and they're just like, okay, good enough, or if they made the story up and those aren't actually real people, or they just took, you know, they just took some guy's name and said, oh yeah, Steven's the CEO and Dan is, you know, the COO. You kind of, and what I'm getting to is you kind of see that a lot when there's like fake Chinese companies that pop up out of nowhere, and they'll say, oh, okay, and they'll just fabricate a whole entire about us, you know, about the founding of the company, and they use like some English names, and you know, they just come up with fake names for the COO and the CEO and all the executives of the company, and it's like, I don't know, there's just something that's a little bit I don't know, deceptive about that to me, when a company has an about us page and then like their executives aren't even real people that exist. They might be just like fake names, you know. And I think the main reason they do it is it's a Chinese company, but they want to say the CEO's name is like Dan Goodman, and then the COO's name is Stephen whatever. They want to give them like English sounding names. And I don't know, like, I think if you're starting a company, you shouldn't have to fake an about us, right? Like, you shouldn't have to come up with some like fabricate a founding story for your company and come up with like fake names. And like, can you really not, like, if I started an e-bike company, like, wouldn't you kind of want your name to be on there and say, yeah, you know, like, I'm starting this company, I'm gonna put my name and my picture on there, and I'm gonna stand behind my company that I founded, right? If you were the founder of a company, like, wouldn't you want to be associated with your company, right? Like, have your name, your picture, like, yeah, man, like, I'm the founder, right? I don't know. I mean, it seems that kind of bothers me about the wired e-bikes. I don't want to go on too long about it. I think you guys get the point, but I just don't like when companies do that. They kind of fabricate a fake story about how a company was founded, and there's like fake names on there, and it's hard to tell if they're even real people. I think it's a little deceptive, and it's just kind of, I don't know about it, right? Like, to me, if you start a company and you invest all this effort and this money into starting a company, like, you'd want your name associated with it, and you'd want your picture on the website, and you would spend more than 5 minutes, you know, coming up with the about us page for your company website. And it's kind of like a common theme with the Wired e-bikes website. It's just like thrown together, you know. It wasn't really made by much of a web developer, you know. It's some kind of like Wix, Squarespace type thing, and they just hooked it up to Shopify. So there's that, right? And then the other thing about the Wired e-bikes that I'm not sure about is I keep getting these comments about the Wired e-bikes saying, oh yeah, I just pre-ordered my Wired e-bike and it's coming in May, and like, oh, I can't wait, my Wired e-bike is coming next week. And I don't know when they ordered their bikes, but if I go to the website today and I look at the Wired e-bike, the Wired Freedom, it says it's not going to ship until August. All of the colors, right? All the colors, as far as I can tell, all the options. The Wired Freedom is not shipping until August. And I mean, it's May, right? Like, who is gonna buy an e-bike in May 2023 that the current estimated shipping date is in August 2023? Like, who's gonna spend $2,000 or $3,000 on an e-bike in the spring just to get the e-bike maybe in August and have, like, what, part of September maybe to ride it? I don't know. And the other thing about this Wired situation, and it's another thing where it's like, it seems like a little bit deceptive, like there might be something going on. But another thing about this whole Wired e-bike situation is I've been getting all of these spam comments like crazy spam comments on my videos from no-name channels, or just kind of like burner Google accounts, and they're just spamming on all of my videos. Wired freedom, wired freedom, wired freedom. I'm buying the wired freedom. I got a wired freedom. So I don't know if the company, I don't know if it's just a popular e-bike. I mean, I can see why it might be popular. You know, it's got, on paper, it's good specs. But, like, I'm just getting so many comments about this wired freedom e-bike. And it's just always kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, I bought it and it's the best thing ever. But then, like, there's not a whole lot of conversation. Like, I can't tell if they're real people, right? I can't tell if these Google accounts that are leaving all these comments about the wired freedom e-bike are even real accounts. Most of them don't seem like it. And so there's that, right? They, like, Wired may or may not be using bots, like comment bots, to spam all over YouTube in the comments, you know, trying to influence people into buying their bike. You know, I certainly wouldn't be buying it right now in May if it's not shipping until August. And the other thing about that is, if it's May and they tell you that the bike isn't shipping until August, think about all the things that could change or go wrong over the, you know, the next 6 months while you're waiting for it to ship. I mean, I would say there's probably a good chance you're not, if you order it now and they say it's gonna ship by August, you're probably not gonna get it till like September. It's gonna take longer for sure, right? So I don't think, I wanted to mention the wired freedom, but I don't think I would buy one right now. Even if they were shipping earlier than August, I don't think I would buy one, just because I keep seeing all these comment bots spamming, and the company's website is a little bit deceptive. I just don't like that whole fake, like, about us page, and there's like no pictures, and the people don't seem like real people, and the website's just a piece of shit. So I don't know, guys. Like, the wired freedom e-bike, I mean, I would love to ride one. On paper it looks good, right? It looks like a good option. But I mean, there's just some sketchy business going on. It's a new company. There's a lot of like comment bot spam. I've also heard of, I didn't mention this, I've also heard a number of people saying that they're having problems with their wired e-bikes. I've seen probably a handful of different videos where people, mostly short videos, where people were kind of like, oh, help, something's wrong with my e-bike, it's making noises, like, what's this problem? And so they've got a short video of a hub motor that's got like loose magnets or whatever, and it's just like scraping and like all these crazy noises. And I've seen some comments where, and it's kind of like a vocal minority, but I've seen a handful of different comments where people are like, yeah, wired e-bikes are scammers, and they, you know, my bike went faulty after like 100 miles or a couple hundred miles, and it's got all these problems, and like I paid for all this return shipping and sent the motor back, and then they shipped the same exact broken motor back, and they didn't like fulfill the warranty, and there are these, you know, so I don't know. The wired is kind of up in the air for me. If you have a wired e-bike, I would really love to hear about your experience with it, and how it's working out for you, like how long you've been riding it. Because I don't know, I can't, on paper it looks good, but there's just some sketchy business going on, guys. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. And I, you know, just personally, new company, sketchy business going on, not shipping until August. That's deal breaker for me. I don't think I would buy a wired freedom right now. So those are kind of my thoughts since the last which e-bikes would I buy video. So I think right now I'd probably try the Ride1Up Rift, or maybe if you're into the moped style e-bikes, maybe try that Ride1Up Revv1. Looks like a good option. Those are kind of the ones that I've been looking at lately. I'm not buying any new e-bikes, but if I was, I might look into those too. Now the only thing about Ride1Up is that I was looking at the return policies, and there's a different return policy on the Revv1. It's like a 15-day return policy or something. So for some reason, the Revv1 has a shorter return policy than all of their other e-bikes. And I'm not sure why that is, or why that would be. Where one e-bike has like a short return policy and it's like excluded from your normal return policy. I don't know why that is, but I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. We got the Ride1Up. The Rift just came out. It's kind of a new bike, but I like the looks of it. It looks like an AR Kepler. And then the Ride1Up Revv1 has been out, I don't want to say for a couple months now, but it seems like a very popular bike. It's got the full suspension option. It's an affordable price. It seems like a very popular one right now. And Ride1Up, it just seems like kind of like an established company, you know, and their website looks good. So those two I would maybe look into. And then so there's the whole Wicked and Wired Freedom bike, and on paper it's great, but I don't know, guys. I probably wouldn't order a Wired Freedom right now. Let me know if you have one. I want to know about your experiences with your Wired Freedom. And so if you're looking at some other e-bikes, let me know, which one are you looking at? And what features appeal to you? Are you looking at that e-bike? Or if you bought one, if you bought an e-bike, if you bought an e-bike, which e-bike did you buy? Let me know in the comments. You got kind of like a rock scraping in here or something. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you were gonna buy an e-bike right now, May 2023, which one would you get and why? As for me, I'm just gonna keep riding around on my Bafang BBS02 750 watt mid-drive bike. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Like the video, drop a comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next time.